Recently, we've been talking about in times like these, trying to just give you some practical thoughts, ideas, maybe motivate you a little bit to think ahead and just to think through your serving efforts. We want to be able to just give you practical handles that you can grab a hold of and say, you know what, this works. And I'm with Steve Sjogren today, and we are talking about things that can happen, how to get a handle on times like these.
Yeah, when it's not so expensive, when you don't, maybe not at all expensive. In fact, I'm going to give you something I do actually that maybe you may not find that easy to do, but is if you can relate to this that I'm going to tell you, it is very powerful. Some who are listening to this are going to go, I can do that. It doesn't cost anything. And if you can relate to this, it is something that you will make friends with, you will influence people with. And if you write a book about this, and I don't know about it in advance, I will find you. And we'll have a talk. Okay, but I've done this for years. I notice my way into people's lives. I've talked about that a lot. If you've read my stuff, my very first book, I talked about noticing people, noticing God, Conspiracy of Kindness, way back in 1993, before some of you were born, I suspect. But the upshot is, as you notice people, there has to be a capacity to enjoy people. John says it, Jesus says it, and John says very directly, an authentic love for God always manifests in a love for people. And really loving people means you actually enjoy people. Go figure, Tracy, right? You don't just, I love you. It's like, I love you with the love of the Lord, but I don't know you. It's not, Bill Murray going to church kind of thing. It's not that. It's really enjoying people. It's learning to enjoy people, learning to getting past our addiction to loneliness, our addiction to isolation, and feeling like that's something spiritual. There is a need to learn to be a little bit extroverted, and I am a learned extrovert. I'm writing more about that, so stay tuned for details, boys and girls, about more of those kinds of things that are coming out. But here's what I do. I've done this for years, and it's I go into places. I weasel my way in to tables where I feel like I should sit down there and just start talking to people. What? You don't even know them. Exactly. I sit down and they go, excuse me, who are you? Now, I don't do this with anybody. I usually look for people who are smiling, that are laughing, that are chortling. A chortle is a word you may not have used very frequently. Now, you're from Iowa. Do you use the word chortle? Or is that a bird in Iowa? Chortle?
No.
Kind of like a pheasant.
A chortle, between a turtle and a bird.
Not a chortle, but a chortle.
Chortle. Sounds chocolate.
A chortle is slightly different than a anyway, it's a form of laughter. But I usually look for people like that, or I will be walking by and I go, that looks really good that you have. And they go, oh, it is. And they'll often offer me a bite. And I'll say, well, thank you. And I'll actually grab their French fries and start eating them. And they'll say, I didn't say get out my French fries. And they mean it kind of in a joking way. And I say, well, but you had that look on your face, that come hither, try my French fries look on your face. And I have never once had anybody less than hilariously laugh when I say that. Come and try my French fries, Steve. And you don't know me, but I'm Steve, and I am, actually, I have my badge with me usually, but I'm from the ORIDA French Fry Inspection League. I'm a volunteer. Most of them are paid, but I'm a volunteer because I just don't actually, they couldn't afford to pay me these days. I was paid one time, but now I'm a ORIDA French Fry Potato Inspector Volunteer League of the Tampa Brigade. And then they start laughing their heads off. They go, what? Say what? And then I sit down, and Janie by this time is like going, oh my gosh, why did I marry this person? 30 years of this stuff, oh my gosh. And I tell you what, it's a form of noticing my way into people's lives. I have never once had anybody get anything short of, we instantly engage, we instantly start chatting, who are you really? And I say, I'm a guy who I write, I coach, and I don't say anything about Jesus right away. I don't say anything about church, of course, right away. That would be the end of the conversation in many cases, of course. But in the next 5 to 7, 8 minutes, of course, that all comes up. And they go, you don't look like any pastor I've ever met in my life. You know, actually they don't talk like that in most places I've been, but they do in parts of Houston. And then we end up, and they say, well, it's funny you would sit down. This happens very often. Funny you would sit down today of all days. Isn't that interesting? Because I've been wondering. In fact, we were just talking 5 minutes ago. Of course, I had no idea what they're talking about. And isn't this interesting? Mary or Carolyn, and there's usually 2, if not 3 people sitting at the table. That this guy Steve would come up and start eating your French fries, because we were just talking about this thing. And what do you think about blah blah blah? And they asked me a moral question. And I've always said, not everybody can debate people. Not everybody can memorize pages and pages of evangelism, tit for tat necessarily, or they don't fancy themselves as having that role. But we can all tell our story. We can all say, well, I may not be the smartest person in the world, but here are my thoughts on that. And it's amazing how people respond to that kind of an entry point into response of a question like that. I have never, of course, I read far, far more than most people that simply go to church. And I've never been surprised by a question. Never once have had to say, honestly, that's a really tough question. I don't think I can answer that. Because the questions people ask are not unlimited. They are not challenging as some might think. Now, I have had challenging questions in my way, certainly. But I think if you are a leader, per se, we all who follow Christ are leaders. That's absolutely, I think, a biblical truth. But if you are a recognized leader, and you are very clearly influencing people in a spiritual house of God, I think you need to realize is that maybe we are overstating the complication of things, and that anybody can tell their story. Anybody can start by saying, well, I may not have it all understood. However, here's a couple of thoughts. Anybody can do that. Even it's been a believer for 90 days. Mm-hmm. Does that seem true to you? Mm-hmm. And so, we don't have to have all the buttoned down, wired down, bolted down answers, but it's amazing how that is the beginning of a conversion story so often. And so, just a thought, in times like these, as we notice our way into people's lives, and I don't even have to buy them anything. All I do is give them a little bit of attention, a 5, at the most 10-minute conversation. And I walk away, and those people email me, they send me Christmas cards later on. I send them birthday cards because I am a nut about people's birthdays. And what do I do on birthdays at about 6 o'clock in the morning? I call them on the phone, and I say, I know it's 6 in the morning, but here's your birthday song. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Tracy. Happy birthday to you. I'm a lounge singer. I am a professional birthday song singer. My limo's waiting, so please back away. And some people get mad because it's awfully early. But it's small things make all the difference in people's lives. God bless. Talk to you next time.